All right. Welcome back, everybody. We have our final run of the marathon. And just a moment, we're going to be speaking with the next runner. Smelly, how's it going?
Pretty good. How
Cool,
yourself?
dude.
I didn't realize I was live for a second.
Uh,
I
I'm
was just
sorry,
kind of
dude.
playing around.
Oh, right. Well, I just made you live like 2 seconds ago.
Okay.
Yeah. So I have SmellyMctroll here with me. I'm very excited to Smelly. I don't know if you guys are familiar, but tell us a little bit about yourself, including you were just at a recent prominent speedrun uh, event. I guess maybe a
Uh,
year ago, 6 months ago.
yeah, it was back in March. Yeah, if you're talking about RPG Limit Break,
Yep.
yeah, I did. I had a run in there. Actually, my favorite game, Adventures of Mana. It's pretty cool. It was a really good experience.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm Smelly. I
That's so
run a
cool.
lot of Mana games. I love the series, and I've been kind of knocking out speed runs one by one.
Yes, indeed. Now, before we get started, I just wanted to ask: is Sword of Mana, isn't it similar to the storyline of Final Fantasy Adventure as well as Adventure of Mana?
So Adventure of Mana is just pretty much like a one-to-one remake of Final Fantasy Adventure.
Okay.
So in that way, yes. Sword of Mana is when they tried to take all the Seiken Densetsu lore that came after Final Fantasy Adventure
Yeah.
and try to roll it back into it. So
Ah.
there are some pretty significant changes to both the gameplay and the storyline
Okay.
because of that.
Right on. Well, very excited. Thank you, Smelly. I'm ready when you are, and I guess if you just want to count us down when you're ready, I'll go ahead and start the timer.
Yeah, for sure. So the time is going to start after I confirm the name. So it's going to be here.
Oh, okay. Cool.
So let's do it. Three, two. Okay, let me get my timer on this end ready. All right, let's redo that. Three, two, one. Let's go. Two, one. Let's go. And there is quite a bit of downtime in this run, guys. So if you have any questions about lore or tech, feel free to ask. I will try to explain as much as I possibly can, but it's it's possible that I might miss something. So, the first about 13 and a half minutes of this game is more or less cutscenes. The game is very cutscene heavy, which is why I run on the Japanese version, because the cutscenes are a bit shorter. They're actually a lot shorter in some places. Yeah, this is Sword of Mana, hero percent or sumo percent, whatever you want to call it. So, a little bit longer than Fuji's or the heroine's story. From what I understand, that run has a lot less dungeon crawling in it. Yeah, and Sumo's path more or less follows the original story of Final Fantasy Adventure with some liberties taken. They actually like this right in the beginning. So we get introduced to the main villain right away. So that's Shroud. We'll be seeing him again about midway through the game itself. Have our confrontation with him. For now, I'm going to mash this button. So, anytime you see this kind of sepia tone screen here, this is a flashback. not too much going on here right now. Just, it's a pretty big lore dump here at the beginning. And this will take us to about 5 minutes or so. Still got a few minutes left here. And this is kind of a newer add-on to the game, this part of the story, and I forget the context of what's happening here. I do know that they stuck in kind of a mana tribe sort of thing, and that Strout was trying to stomp them all out. I don't think Sumo belongs to the mana tribe. So there's our other protagonist, that's Fuji. So she's gonna tag along as a kid. Yeah, and we'll be seeing multiple flashbacks like this throughout the run. Pretty much anytime Sumo bonks his head, anytime Sumo goes to sleep, and sometimes outside that, you're gonna have a memory sequence triggered. Now we're going to come back around to the present here in a second. So, we got Willy in this one. Willy doesn't die in this version of the game. He stays alive for the whole game. So we just have a little chat about the memory that Sumo just had. And eventually he's going to ask him about if he was dreaming about Fuji. And then we can name her as well. Right here, actually. Yeah, we'll go with that. So, almost ready to start doing stuff here. And just like any good JRPG, you gotta talk to some NPCs to advance. I'll be doing here in a second. We go, Willy. Okay, here we go. So, you gotta talk to Amanda once. Then talk to this guard once. And then go back and talk to Amanda again. We'll get a slightly longer dialogue. Tells you about saving and the goddess statues and all that. And just talk to the guard again. Triggers this cutscene. We're gonna have our first, really kind of the intro fight. This cutscene goes rather quickly. In fact, it's almost over. So, right after this one, they're going to release the Jackal, and the run's going to start from there. But not before the official thumbs up from Ramanda. So, we have our in-game good luck. Here she goes. Go get started. Shall we? So one thing I want to keep in mind when I'm fighting this Jackal is I want to get the 3-hit combo down. The first slash does 100% damage, second slash is 150%, and third slash does 200%. So the third one is very important. Here we go. That was a stellar Jackal fight. It's a good way to start this run. So, unlike Adventures of Mana, you can't just mash out the 3-hit combo. In this game, there's actually some timing required, which actually, I really appreciate that. I appreciate the element of execution. Makes the run a bit more exciting. So if you just mash it out, you're going to get single hits every time. So you've got to approach it with a rhythm that's not too fast, but not too slow. And after a while, you can kind of recognize certain animations when they're ending, and then connect from there. Anywho, so we're about to get into the first of many times Sumo is going to fall from the sky. So, in Final Fantasy Adventure, you get outside the castle and you see Julius and you see Shroud, and they're kind of talking, and then Julius notices you. Shroud comes to chase you. In this game, there's a direct confrontation right from the start. And Sumo, of course, is not strong enough to confront Shroud, so he kind of just bops him on the head and tosses him into a river, and then we get introduced to Niccolo. So Niccolo is a traveling merchant, and he is an element of RNG in this run. So he sells some items that we'll get later on, some meat items. The meat items double your damage against certain types of enemies, so I like to use them on bosses, and yeah, it gets pretty fun from there. But you just never know where or when he's going to spawn. But he needs to spawn somewhere after I have 300 to 400 gold. This is good. Get Chobin Hood fight as well. Okay. So now we see Fuji in the present. She doesn't quite trust us yet. But you did save her life. And because of that, she agrees to have you escort her to Topple. It's not too far away. Then we get an awkward party up sound. And now I can start doing more stuff. I gotta cut this grass, all Zelda-like, and then grab this diary. Alright. So this game is kind of a hodgepodge of really every Seiken Densetsu game that came before it. It has a mechanic from basically all of them. Oh jeez. So, what I'm trying to do now is level up my sword. It does have Sword of Mana's weapon leveling system. And how that goes is you gain a level when you get 20 times the level of whatever your weapon is at currently. So I've got to hit an enemy 20 times to level up my sword to, well, level 2 now. It doesn't matter much in the long run. But in the beginning of the game, you do want to try to get as much damage in as possible. So that 1 or 2 damage can become important. So now, I'm in Topple. In Topple, there are 3 things that I have to do. First of all is talk to this guy. And we're going to have a chat about the Sword of Mana. I'm also going to get a very important item from him, the escape rope. But we have to go through this whole dialogue. Yeah, Junappa, in JP, just because the cutscenes are a lot shorter in the JP version, this game has a lot of cutscenes. The first part of this game is particularly cutscene heavy. So I just wanted to reduce the time on it just a little bit. Okay. So, I have to talk to this lady in here. And keep in mind, this game has a day-night system, and NPCs react to that. So they will be in different places during the day than they are during the night. If you're consistent with your run, you should hit pretty much everywhere you need to hit at the same point in time. So, always in Topple at nighttime, those guys are always going to be in the same place. And Niccolo's going to sell me something. He's going to sell Popoi's notebook, which is something I don't actually use. I'm just going to be running along these screens, really just looking for good Rabite spawns, which I'm not really getting. This one is good. There we go. Got 1 level up. So, again, the next one is 40. And talking to those two NPCs, the guy in the cottage and the lady in the general store. So the lady in the general store gives you the information that the cave to Windle is sealed. And the guy in the cottage talks about this cottage here, which is Bogard's. So in Final Fantasy Adventure, you would see him here, but he's not here in this one. He just has a letter. So, Fuji and Sumo meet up again. She still thinks that he's working for Shroud. But eventually, her Wisp Spirit reveals itself. She says that Mana Spirits only reveal themselves to good people, so he must be good. So she begins to trust him a little bit. At least a little bit. And she also tells us how to use magic, but not going to get a Mana Spirit for a couple minutes, at least. So we make a plan to go to Windle, party up, and hitting the road. Here we go. But one more thing. Gotta learn to jump. So jumping in a Seiken game is kind of weird, but it's actually kind of useful in this game. To be completely honest. See if this Rabite spawns here. Yeah. So okay, so I don't want to take too much damage. No, I think Legend of Mana came first, right? Legend of Mana was 2000. This game was 2003. Since this is a marathon, I do want to have a back break here. So they wanted to kind of expand the map, right? With Final Fantasy Adventure, most of your weapons outside of your sword were also tools to navigate the overworld and caves as well. But in this game, that's not the case. So they did kind of want to expand the map a little bit. So there are some sections that you have to jump up to. Also, it's good for avoiding some attacks, and also jumping over some enemies that are in your path, even though you can get hit while you're in the air. And I have good health here. So I'd like to bring Fuji over here so she can start to help. So this is the first of a few forced battle scenes. And it's kind of scary. Oh my god. That was actually amazing. Yeah, I need to focus here for a second. So the hitbox on these arrows are ridiculous. Okay, does she have... Alright, I do need to heal here. The bow is very powerful, as you'll see a little bit later in the run. Oh man, I'm consistently whiffing that third hit. Okay, that didn't go bad, all things considered. Alright, so we're introduced to a new enemy type here, called a meatball. Now, you'll see these things all around the game. They can only be damaged by a certain type of weapon, in that case, the bow. But there are actually quite a few you can just totally skip over. Like one way or the other. Like this one. You can just jump there to avoid the attack and then walk right past it. Okay, this next part is just to trek down to get a specific accessory that's just kind of hanging out in the open and is also very useful. I not sure what it's called in the Japanese version because I haven't really looked at it, but in the English version, it's called the cicada earring. So what it does is increase your speed. Speed equals accuracy. So your hit rate goes up. Gonna grab that here. I'm also gonna stockpile level ups. So one thing I really like about this game is the fact that you don't have to level up right away. You can take it and you can store it with you, and you can use it at any point, and it'll give you a full heal, and it'll refresh your magic to full as well. So there's a room coming up where I have to use a lot of magic. So I just want to stockpile a few level ups, so when I get there, I can just knock it out straight away. And now we're at Vinkent Manor. So this was called Kent Manor in Final Fantasy Adventure, and you came to it first. Fuji would get kidnapped, and then you would go off to fight Hydra, and so on and so on. Almost the same thing here, except you actually have to clear the mansion first, and then you go on to fight Hydra. I should note that this gate only opens at night, so there's just enough time to run down and grab the cicada earrings and come back up. I believe the day-night cycle goes day, 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 afternoon, evening, night, 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 and then dusk. Dusk and dawn. So you get 3 full screens of night. It's perfect. Get there right at the last possible screen. Anywho, so they shoehorned Isabella in from Trials of Mana. And I wouldn't say she's a really minor character. She does pop up a few times in the narrative. But I wouldn't say she's, like, really significant either. Anywho, so Fuji and Sumo are having a chat about whether they want to stay here for the night or not. They should, since the butler already prepared their room. So from here, just gotta go over to Isabella's room and have a chat with her about the magic mirror. I'll be picking up a little bit later. And then one more cutscene after this. And the end of this cutscene always surprises me because it just ends abruptly. So I do like to hold down here. There we go. Got one more cutscene. Roller's going wonky there for a second. And it still kind of is. What the heck? Give me a second, guys. That was weird. Might have to disconnect my controller. Oh god, it's complete. Okay, there we go. Anywho, we get a little flashback sequence here now. He said, anytime Sumo goes to sleep, anytime he gets bonked on the head, etc., etc., you get one of these flashback sequences. And then we wake up and, oh god, Fuji's gone, right? I want to grab this Angel's Grail. Things are actually kind of important. So one more short cutscene, and then I can get started in the dungeon proper. Have the butler go do his thing. And Sumo was wondering what happened. Now we're off. Right after this save. Okay, so, Vinkent Manor. I did mention stockpiling those level ups, right? So, I'm gonna go guarantee my level ups. You don't know what enemy set you're gonna get. So, what you want to do is make certain that you can hit a certain level before the end of the dungeon. So, to do that, I fight these slimes. These slimes are weak to bow, or they at least take bow damage. And you can get multi-hits on these guys, which is really nice. So you can clear out this room real quick. And what I do is I go in and out of this room 6 times to get the appropriate amount of experience. Because again, you don't know what enemy set you're going to get. So you're not guaranteed to get slimes, and even if you do get slimes, you don't want to chase them down throughout the dungeon. So just get everything in one go. So what are we at? 4 here? And then look at that hitbox. The hitbox for the bow is just insane. That guy was behind me. That's how crazy it is. Bow is one of the best weapons in the game. Like, by far. It's crazy. Oh no, so these slimes are guaranteed to spawn in this room. In fact, only slimes will spawn in this room. Nothing else. So that's 6. Got enough XP? Let's roll. I usually don't hit this guy here. I'll get him. Also, I want another healing item. So I'll grab this light coin. Yeah, see, not getting any slimes at all. I am, however, going to get the first Mana Spirit. And he happens to be the most useful Mana Spirit in the entire game. So this is Salamander. Salamander doubles your physical damage. We also learn how to sit on the ground for some reason. Just going to escape rope back to the start. And we'll get to that room I was talking about here in a second. So here we are. Gonna equip that Mana Spirit. So, offensive magic cost 6 MP. Which is quite the heavy investment this early in the game. So my first level up I want to be Sage. That way you automatically double your MP. You can fire 2 shots instead of 1. Not looking good for the XP. A little bit behind, but that's fine. Okay, I like to soak up that extra XP whenever I possibly can. How's it going, Heartless Genocide? Okay, so this guy is kind of scary sometimes. And yeah, he's a little bit scarier than the actual boss of this dungeon. It's because he has a homing attack that can hit you for 14 twice. You want to try to bait him into doing straight fireballs, though. Switch to my sword, power up, and now that I have a death blow, whoa, the crits, crazy. He's a little scarier now that I'm, like, under-leveled. Oh my god. Okay. So, we're starting this one over. He actually got me, which was nuts. So, that's not too bad of a setback. I do have to go grind this room, though. And I must have miscounted because usually I'm doing 6 damage to him, not 4. Anywho, let's do it again. Do the mini grind. So this is 2, right? I play it often enough. 3. Yeah, he is kind of tough for an early boss. Definitely. And he's even scarier when you're not doing the damage you expect to do to him. So yeah, usually the normal damage is 3, and then the double damage is 6. And I've now lost track of how many times I've been in here, so I'll do 2 more. Better safe than sorry. Yeah, I did miscount last time. So 1 more time. Let's go. Also of note that these slimes are like 3 XP each. And they yield the most XP of any creature in this dungeon. Besides the bosses, obviously. It's kind of a sloppy room. Okay. Still going for the light coin. Just kind of ensuring I have the level I want now. Ooh. And actually get slimes here too. Yeah, so when I got in that room, my death blow is usually 12. Usually does 12 damage, so when I saw it did 8, I already knew something was up. Anywho, let's trek back to him. So we remember this guy. Oh, I got Turbo Zombie this time. This guy has, I think, 2 different AI patterns. One where he just pretty much avoids you, and one where he like comes straight for you like that. Occasionally, if you're positioned right, and he is, you can get a double hit with the magic, which is pretty cool. Really? No! Come on now. Now I have to sit. I hate sitting. So sitting regenerates your MP. And again, the offensive magic takes 6. So you just end up sitting there for a while. And look, you're stuck. Kind of sucks because my life is a little bit lower for werewolf now. Ugh. Gross. Oh, I got another level up. So I might be over leveled this time. Is actually always welcome. No, you don't need to sit if you stock up your level ups there. There's also a fairy walnut you can get, but I skip it just to save a little bit of time. Fairy walnuts restore your MP. So throughout the run, there really is no need to sit unless you end up just running out of MP somewhere. Okay, so I hit him with a death blow. Oh my god, crits. Yeah, I'm 1 level up now. And I kind of just push him towards the door. There he goes. Yes, so I get 1 sorcerer level because you really don't need too much MP throughout the run. So I like to throttle strength. So monk makes your strength grow 2 to 1. Your physical damage, which is needed quite a bit. All right. Now the actual boss of the dungeon, who is not quite as scary. But yeah, considering throughout the run that most spells that I cast are defensive spells or buffs, whatever you want to call them, and they only cost 3, having 12 NP is plenty. Okay, so for this guy, I want to power up like normal. It's not the best part. It's not the best spot. I hate it when he kind of hangs out up there. Oh, we're on that already. Die. There we go. Yeah, so you want to position yourself to where you can actually avoid his primary attack. His primary attack is always dive kick. He's going to move to one of, I think, 5 spots he can possibly move to throughout the room. And he's going to dive kick a couple times. Occasionally, he will go into like a bat swarm attack, which is like super hard to avoid. If he does it, you're most likely dead. And he also has that desperation attack. So when those orbs come up, they will attach to you. Actually, they'll home in on whoever the closest character is, either Fuji or Sumo. And then they'll regenerate him, and they'll do a lot of damage to you. I also want to monitor my magic usage there, because I need to use an offensive spell to open up the next dungeon. So I want to have 6 to do that. And I took a risk there. I kind of pushed the limit. I knew he was getting pretty low on health, and then he was most likely going to die really soon. So I did get hit with that orb attack. And yeah, Heartless, the sword is good, but around about the time I fight Medusa, maybe about a third of the way into the game, I switched straight to Knuckles. And it makes sense because with the monk path, you end up getting more damage on the Knuckles anyway. And they're faster, so you can save some frames. Alright, now I'm headed off to Marsh Cave. We're gonna fight Hydra. Hydra, kind of a scary boss, actually. A little bit. Ooh, bees, not the bees. You want to see these guys right here, these tadpoles. Why? Because they actually take sword damage. I do want to get another level up. Oh, lots of tadpoles. Okay. I guess it's time for me to go. And tiny status. Anyway, I've got to switch back to bow magic. So that's the first of many totems that are going to be in the way. And they just crumble if you hit them with the right type of magic, which is indicated by their color. Alright, so I'm pretty much going to solo this dungeon here until I get to a certain point. And I don't know if this is an intended mechanic or if it's a glitch, but if you have a dead character with you, first of all, I'll need to like avoid this dude at all costs. Oh my god, he almost got me. Whew. Anyway, if you have a dead character with you and you enter a cutscene, they will revive at like 1 HP. I need to take that right away because it's gonna get pretty hairy. Alright, so this is the forced battle scene here. Get the weapon that I need to actually proceed through the cave. And this is actually going very well. Sweet. Alright. So the flail actually is pretty useful in this game. Can actually get from place to place. It's probably the most useful weapon. Well, just for navigating. Yes, so those snapdragons do swallow you, and they do a lot of damage. So I don't like to face them head on. Alright, I'm gonna switch back to sword because I do want a level here. Also want a death blow. Are you gonna give me my level? Not. I really need one. It'd be in a few enemies. At least. No? You? There we go. Yeah, I know it was pretty close. So I just want to have that to replenish my magic through the fight. Okay, so we're down here. Here's a magic mirror. And then out comes Hydra. So I used to do this fight with the flail. I did switch to the bow because of the multi-hits. And one thing you want to keep in mind in this fight, kill the purple head first. Oh my god, am I on sword still? I am. So yeah, Hydra's gonna bob and weave and do all this crazy stuff. And also, this is a good spot to mention that you can only have one status effect on in this game at a time. So if you have a buff on, like I do now, and say Hydra poisons me, so what that will do is it'll override your buff. So for that reason, it's very important to avoid his attacks. He's especially out of control right now. Let's see, now I'm poisoned, and unless I get rid of that status, I can't power up again, so I lose my damage. It's gonna power up and then level up. Okay, should be able to free fire now. Just want to restrict my my shots a little bit until that head dies, or at least takes a lot of damage. So that fight went on a little longer than usual. Yeah, it's just hard to get a good lineup on him because Hydra's like bobbing and weaving with his body, and also kind of bobbing and weaving with his heads as well. And then you have to dodge all the attacks and all that too. So, got the second Mana Spirit, Undyne. Unfortunately, she's weakened right now, so can't actually use her. So, I'm gonna take her to a lake to restore her energy. I like it when these slime spawn. Soak up some more XP. Pretty much for free. Out of the way. Okay, yeah, attack her. While I get away. Oh, no slimes through here. It's all tadpoles. It's okay, though. I'm one level up. So, the thing that I kind of dislike about this game is where it sets warp points to. And when I talk about warp points, I'm talking about where the escape rope sends you to. Niccolo here? There are no oh, shoot. That sucks. Ooh, Niccolo spawns so rarely, and sometimes he spawns on that screen and it's out of reach. He spawns like right down there. So hopefully I see him before I get to Devious. Well, I'm gonna learn the Secret of Mana remake. Probably get a little more in depth on that next month. And then I'm most likely gonna run the remake of Trials of Mana. Not so sure about the original. The original is like... Original has a lot of RNG. And your run can die at almost any given point. Okay, so now I can actually make my way to Windle. And we have another totem here. One can only be knocked down with Undyne. Should also mention that your magic attack pattern is based on the weapon you're holding. If you didn't notice that already. And probably not, because I've only really used magic with the bow. Offensive magic, that is. Hey, Niccolo! What's up, buddy? Alright, so I have enough, so I want to buy 1, 2, 3. I want to buy a 4th. So, I really don't have to see him again for the rest of the game. But it'll be nice if he pops back up. So by buying those meat items, it's gonna pretty much unlock quadruple damage for some of the more annoying bosses. Alright, Windle. Pretty much just a town full of cutscenes here. We're gonna meet some of the more important characters in the story. But first, I'm gonna save. So I can warp back to that Mana Goddess statue. Anywho, I was talking about that before. So the backtracking. When I first started routing this game, I thought that, you know, maybe you could save at a Mana Goddess statue and then avoid some backtracking, right? So there's a Mana Goddess statue up by that lake. I thought maybe if I head up there first, save there, and then go fight Hydra, I could just warp back there. No, you can't, because every time you kill a boss, it changes your warp point. So once you kill Hydra, your warp point changes to the room directly before him. Doesn't matter if you saved or not. So in that way, the game forces you to backtrack on some occasions. Anyway, we're gonna get started on Windle. So just met Lester, one of the more important characters, and this is Devious, so we're gonna fight him a little bit later. First, you gotta talk to him to actually trigger the next sequence. So this cathedral door is locked until you go to Devious's hotel room and meet him. And then we get this nice panning shot. Play a few of these in the game. Really like them. So we meet up with the Geminites. Got Bogard there on the left and Siva there on the right. And this is where Sumo gets fed up because he doesn't think anyone understands him. So he runs outside. And then madness ensues. And if you recall from Final Fantasy Adventure, you would still meet Siva here. But this is where Fuji would have her revelation that she's a tree maiden. So yeah, there's bad news right there. So everyone's walking away just so casually as like Stroud and Julius are just strutting up here. Also, this is where we first meet Julius proper in this game. And every time Stroud's around, Sumo wants to fight him. He's still not strong enough, so Stroud just kind of knocks him on the head. And if that wasn't enough, Julius just blasts him all the way back into the cathedral. So that magic mirror shatters, and out of a shard, Siva actually catches a glance of who Julius really is, because the magic mirror reveals the truth. So, in this game, Julius is just a reincarnated Emperor Vandal, which is the guy that tried to use mana power to take over the world about 20 years or so before the start of this game. I believe it's 20 years. It might be a little bit longer. Anyway, out goes Sumo. So for some reason, get taken back to Devious's hotel room and not like a hospital or something. And one thing I often forget is to talk to Bogard before leaving. So you have to talk to him to trigger, well, him leaving. So you're going to make a plan to come up with a plan to figure out how to get Fuji back because she just got kidnapped. First, to go out here and talk to either Julius or Lester, either one. And it's going to trigger this dialogue, and really what they're just talking about is Lester going off to Jad, which is where musicians go, apparently. And yeah, I didn't get far enough into that conversation. Let's go ahead and talk to him again. Okay, here we go. Maybe you do just have to talk to Devious. Try it again. So, at the end of that conversation, Devious asks you to free his birds. All of which are going to fly back to Jad. So once that happens, these two will be gone. And then I can actually go to the meeting about the meeting. So I'm gonna head back to the cathedral. And this is one of the cooler cutscenes in the game, in my opinion. It's also the start of the montage cutscenes. There are actually a few of them throughout the game. So again, just planning on what to do about getting Fuji back and the mana pendant. And then you get a free mana spirit yourself, a Wisp. So Wisp, at least her defensive ability is to heal, but really don't need to use her at any point. And those three break, go their own separate ways. We get our montage. Lester and Julius, or Lester and Devious are headed off to Jad. Isabella's parting ways with Count Lee for now. There's old Willie, back in the castle, still fighting jackals. There's Niccolo. I don't know, he's just kind of hanging out there. And then there's this meeting between Stroud and Isabella, in a cutscene that I don't quite understand, but I don't quite understand why Isabella's in the game in the first place. Alright. So, quick warp back to the beginning, and I'm gonna jump into the next scary part of the run. Still have the flail on, and just gonna use the flail to actually navigate through the mushroom forest. The mushrooms themselves don't take very much damage from the flail, and I wish it just wasn't slower to switch to the sword, but it is. Anywho, first destination here is Dwarves Town. So, a dwarf named Watts has wandered off into the abandoned mine that's not too far from here to look for Mithril with a bunch of dud bears. And they really want him to come back. So, this is where we get the quest to do that. Otherwise, if you just go up to the abandoned mine, nothing's gonna happen. So here we go. Yeah, so not too much to say here. Pretty much just running through the mushroom forest and getting to the abandoned mine. Trying not to take too much damage through here. Because as I mentioned, there is a pretty scary part coming up. Actually, rather soon. I always get the double there. So branching path, I'm going to go up to the right. And I used to shortcut this room and jump down right about here. But I've gotten ambushed by enemies way too much there to try it again. Now we run into a bunch of dud bears. And Watts. That's the guy we're looking for, right? So the dud bears open up the path to the mine. And right after this next couple pieces of dialogue, Watts is going to join the party. And here we go. Awkward party up sound. Let's get to it. So, I'm going into what is probably the laggiest room in the game. And at some point, I'm gonna get good enough at this game to not come in here. Or at least I'm gonna take a risk, you know, and not come in there and save. But I do like to have that back break, because there is a pretty brutal room coming up. But anywho, abandoned mine. Pretty much just like Final Fantasy Adventure. You're gonna roll around on a minecart, and there's some switches that you gotta hit to switch the tracks. You don't get penalized too bad for missing some of these levers, but there's one towards the end where if you miss it, you actually get sent back to the previous room, so that causes some problems. Alright, so here's the scary room I mentioned. These guys are way stronger than like any other enemies in the area, and what you want to do, power up Watts and just send him into battle. I'm actually glad he did that. Not glad he did that. So you gotta keep an eye on Sumo. He will wander off and he will get hit. And these guys do massive amounts of damage. Like crazy amounts of damage to him. And he does basically none to them. And this room would go faster if the axe 3-hit combo wasn't just impossible to do. Alright. That's what I'm looking for, that level up. Charge Watts back up, send them back in. And that's why Angel's Grails are so important. So usually I end up having to use one here. Okay, this didn't go too bad. Could have gone a bit faster. Yeah, and Watts' accuracy is pretty low, and he has that slow axe. So a safe strat is to take a swing at like max distance and then kind of back off. And now I have no death blow with Sumo, so I gotta use a gummy worm. Or a gummy frog. There are no gummy worms in this game. Or bears. Only dud bears. So yeah, the rest of this dungeon is pretty much just flipping switches here. Riding a minecart, flipping a switch. I think that's the one that sends you back to the previous room if you miss it. No, actually, it's this one coming up, because yeah, there's that track on the bottom. Yeah, it's that one. That's actually the last one. I'm gonna go get this Choco Lump just for safety. And this is probably my favorite boss fight coming up. Yeah. Gonna go and save. Go ahead and save and eat that gummy frog. Charges your death blow to the max, which I'll need here. And we'll fight Megapede. Megapede's not quite as scary in this game. So, what happens? I like to stand right about here to try to manipulate him to give me a certain pattern. Now, I want him to go off to the right. He's going off to the left, but it's okay. Because he's still dead. So, Megapede tends to give good RNG, more so than he gives bad RNG. That's the bad RNG, when he goes to the left like that. Why? Because when he goes off to the right and goes through the wall, as he's coming out, his body completely straightens up. So your death blow can just go straight through his whole body. When he's off to the left, his body doesn't really straighten out that much before he's about to go underground. So you have to position yourself and time it just right so you can catch at least most of his body. And you should still kill him, just like that. So, what's that, like a 5-10 second boss fight? Which you'll see several more of in this game. So, got some mithril now. We can actually go through the rest of the game. So, you need to go to the abandoned mine to get that mithril to actually open up Gaia's facade, which is on the other fork in the path. Yeah, just going off to the left here, and there's a little bit more of the forest left. I did use an Angel's Grail, so I want to pick this one up. That one will be for much, much later in the run. In fact, a few of the items I pick up in the beginning aren't used until the end. Right, guy is awake, breathes in, and there goes Sumo. Only a few things I have to do in here. The first being pick up an upgrade material for the Knuckles. Just right up here. So, I upgrade only 2 weapons in this run, the bow and the Knuckles. And I do that in 3 rounds of upgrades. And I want to one cycle this room. Got it. Okay. Gotta be fairly fast to do that. I don't think there's any other room that you can one cycle. I want to look into trying to get it on this one. But pretty much every time you get here, this little stone is set in place. So, here's the next Mana Spirit. Keeping track, that's number 4. It's a gnome. He's mildly useful throughout the run. He doubles your physical defense. And I actually don't have a Fairy Walnut or a level up. A little bit out of whack on this run, so I'm just gonna sit for a little bit. There's a level up. Okay, I like saving there because it's pretty darn easy to die on this next section. Also, this is pretty cool because you get to team up with Siba. And Siba is pretty dang strong, let me tell you. Doesn't play any games. I want to skip over all these guys because these guys are pretty scary. They deal out a lot of damage. And when I first routed this game, I actually used to grind out here. Now I wait until I get to the airship. So, should know in mana games, anywhere you see a werewolf is like bad news. So you don't really want to mix it up with these guys. And instead, you can just free fire wisp shots. So those werewolves and also that Grand Soldier, they will kill Sumo in a couple hits. Like, you're actually pretty darn weak at this point. And from now on, my main weapon is going to be the knuckles. But first, grind. So I want to grind until I get 934 gold here. And on average, enemies will give you, I think, 16 to 18 gold. Those little dolls right there give you 18, I believe. But on average, like, these peeping eyes give you 16. I don't need to grind super high because I already found Niccolo. Yeah, we're gonna go for a while. And this is a good place to practice your 3-hit combos. Yeah, not too fast, not too slow. It actually saves you a little bit of time if you get him, because you only got to hit these enemies twice. All right, let's do a spot check here. 537. Okay, just a few more times. Yeah, the airship looks really cool. Unfortunately, on Sumo's part of the story, you don't get to explore it. So, you just get to go into a few rooms, and then it triggers a cutscene, and then you're off the airship. Did something useful. Yeah, so you want to switch off to Siba, like, pretty much as soon as you enter the scene. You can only switch off in combat, by the way. Because he will do that. And a lot of these dolls. Definitely like that. Alright, let's check it out again. Need almost 200 exactly. Loving the dolls. Loving the dolls. I like how Siba, like, in the third hit of his animation, he like comes down on top of them with a staff. Just bops him right on the head. Or pokes their eye out, I guess, these guys. Alright, I'll do one more and check. Bop, bop. Bop, bop, bop. Bop, bop, bop. Check out the stats. 941. We're good. Move on. So yeah, with Sumo, all you really have to do is come onto the airship, go into that room, punch that glass out, and then walk forward. That's literally it. And then we get this cutscene with Fuji and Julius and the mana pendant and all that. So, pretty high tension scene here. And then Fuji's going to toss off the mana pendant to Sumo. And then Julius is going to do the thing he likes to do, which is like blast people away with his dark energy. And there he goes. Sumo's fallen again. And there's Amanda, who somehow escaped the dungeon. I don't think that's actually explained, how she gets out here. So, short cutscene here. Sumo's all injured, and basically Amanda makes a deal with the devil. Because he promises that he can heal him. It does come at a cost, though. We'll see a little bit later. Of course, another head injury for Sumo. Another flashback. Right on time. So in comes Devious, promising some restoration. And Amanda takes the bait. So she's gonna run off, and we're gonna see her later. But then in come Bogard and Fuji, who managed to work their way out of the ordeal in the airship, and somehow knew that Sumo made it down here to Minos. Maybe that's explained in Fuji's story. So, cutscene's pretty short. It's actually over. Let's move on for now. You can't actually leave Minos until you talk to that kid, this nun, and then a lady inside this house. This one right here. So that'll trigger the cutscene coming up. Also, I want to go to the general store and buy this accessory here. So I want to have a little bit more power. To buy an accessory called the Fiend Fang. I'm going to go and toss that on right now. At this point, accuracy isn't too much of a factor, and I want more damage. So the Knuckles attack so fast that you can just get a lot of hits in there. So it's not like they're not as slow and deliberate as the sword. I don't know, it's probably 2 to 1, I'd say. probably get like 2 shots from the knuckles in to 1 shot with the sword. Yeah, about a third of the way through the game. So I'm gonna grab this upgrade material, and I'm gonna actually upgrade this time. First, I'm gonna use the escape rope. I was talking about those warp points, so I didn't actually have to save at that mana goddess statue. It's already set there for me. And you were probably wondering what these things were. So Niccolo gave us an item called the Cactus Essence in the beginning to grow these hothouses. They're not super useful until Watts. So Watts decides to tag along. So I'm gonna upgrade both the knuckles with that marble I got earlier. And I'm gonna upgrade the bow with that material I got just now. Now I'm pretty much out of cash here. That other room, you can go talk to Trient, and there's a forging system that I believe is the same as in Legend of Mana. You can get fruits and vegetables to upgrade your weapons and armor, which is kind of bizarre. And they're actually like dependent on which day you give them to Trient. They can turn into something completely different. At any rate, I'm headed down the Jad. So we're gonna get kind of a medium-sized cutscene coming up here pretty soon. A lot of lore. So they did throw a lot into the story. They tried to give background to events in Final Fantasy Adventure that didn't previously have any sort of significant context, we'll say. So they did kind of create some relations between different characters, some of which feel kind of forced. So Medusa was previously just a monster in Final Fantasy Adventure. And now she's kind of a significant part of the story. Meet her here. So, Medusa is a Mavolian, and in Seiken lore, they're probably just lurking heartless. In Seiken lore, Mavolia is the underworld. Oh, also, there are people. You're in my chat. There are also people in Ellervated's chat. Probably the more proper answer there. Yeah, so I have both open, so I can field questions from either one. Yeah, so Medusa is from the underworld, and they also created a third Geminite. So the third Geminite we saw at the beginning in a memory. His name's Lord Granz. We also saw him in Vincat Manor in ghost form. So he was the third Geminite that they created for this game. Medusa fell in love with her, or with him. And they had 3 children. So, first child they had was Stroud, second child was Devious, and the third was Garuda. At some point turned into a sort of monster. So, Medusa being lovesick, she is going into the desert maze to a place called the Altar of Time to try to be with Lord Granz. And we're following her. Also, the bird I just let out of the cage was Lester. The guy we met earlier. Also, Lester is Amanda's brother. And the desert can be kind of brutal sometimes. So, I'm gonna go ahead and take a save here. So Amanda is actually a very useful partner. She has a lot more accuracy than Sumo, so I mean, she actually hits a little bit harder too. First, I'm going to open up the maze. I'm going to do a figure 8. That was the wrong way. Need to end up here. Let's do it again. I keep getting hung up on the tree. There we go. 8th time's a charm. See what enemy set I get here. It's the regular enemy set. So I like to call this split Castlevania because you're using the flail pretty much the whole way through, and then you end up fighting a big Medusa head at the end. So all I'm really doing through this desert maze is going through and hitting a series of switches, open different pathways. That's about it. There are a couple forced battle scenes here, but they're not too terrible, especially with Amanda. So Amanda's going to take a bunch of damage here because that totem doesn't spawn in until you go into combat mode, which is slightly after you enter the room. So you can actually run right past it, and what happens there is Amanda just keeps running into it until you leave. Alright, so I actually do need to use Angel's Grail here. Also, I need to switch to Salamander. I often don't here. And my first spell ends up being a gnome cast. So I like to power her up and send her into battle, because these guys hurt quite a bit. And she can more or less be kind of a meat shield. And the 3-hit combo for the Lance timing is slightly different. Okay. So those goblins, when they throw their axe, they do like about 25 damage. And they throw their axe like a boomerang, so it can hit you on the way out and the way back. So you can end up taking like 50 damage, and those guys can kill you really, really quickly. So I do like to send Amanda ahead and keep Sumo in a position of relative safety. So I'm going to pretty much ignore most of the enemies in the desert. Get here, another forced battle scene. Amanda absolutely dominates here. Like 2 hits. She powers up and it's like 2 hits to kill these guys. It's crazy. Alright, next Mana Spirit, number 5, Jin. So he has his uses. So Jin is like speed or accuracy, increase on demand. So a couple places where he's useful. Also, a cool thing is if you get a Mana Spirit and you have a partner with you, your partner can actually use that Mana Spirit as well once you get it, which helps for this spot. So you don't have a lance yet, and don't have really anything else that can knock out that particular totem except for changing to the bow. So you can just save a menu by switching to Amanda and then putting on Jin. Almost done in the desert maze. So I've got one more switch to hit, and then I'm going to head to the boss. Gotta get through here. Is Niccolo in here? No, there's a rare enemy spawn. So that happens every now and then. You have an enemy that's like way stronger. I'm actually lucky I didn't die there. An enemy that is like way stronger than the rest. So much so that it despawns every other enemy. Again, you only see him every now and then. Alright, so now I'm gonna cash out all my level ups before I go in here and fight her. Unfortunately, I gotta do them all individually. And there we go. So Medusa can be kind of scary. But with this new routing with the knuckles and everything, she's not too much of a problem. Really, you can two-cycle her if you go in there with a gummy frog. You can really like one-cycle, or if you can one-cycle her if you do stack enough damage. Salamander, Knuckles, her eyes turn pink. Oh, okay. That works for me. He didn't even get an attack off. Probably my fastest Medusa fight ever. But I did nail, like, all the 3-hit combos there. Yeah, that was pretty exciting. So again, Salamander is doubling your physical damage output. And then once you get the 3rd hit of those 3-hit combos, that doubles your damage output as well. So you're doing like 400% damage once you get those. It's crazy. Like, the damage output starts to become crazy. Anyway, Devious and Shroud make their way to the Altar of Time as well. And they're upset because you just murdered their mother. So Devious issues you a challenge to come to his mansion and fight him face to face. And then Amanda starts to succumb to her curse. And this is probably the most visceral version of this cutscene out of any of the Final Fantasy Adventure version. I should also note that this is the only version where you actually see Medusa bite Amanda. So, we did need Medusa's tears to change Lester back to normal. Amanda got bit. And so we have to use her tears instead. So Fuji heals her just enough. Get back up. But then she goes right back down. Okay, and now we're going to take the fight straight to Devious. We're going to take him up on that offer. Then our warp point changes. I believe it actually changes to the Jad Managata statue. So I'm going to find out here in a second. It definitely doesn't change to the desert, because when it changes, they more or less put you forward. They propel you forward as opposed to backward. So right after this cutscene, we're going to end up in the mansion here in a second. Escape roping back here. I'm going to save because I definitely want that back break. There are a few scary screens going forward in Devious's mansion. And saving there probably only loses you like, I don't know, 10 seconds, maybe 15 seconds, if that. Right. So we're gonna go now into the super secret part of Devious's mansion. It has all this weird machinery in it. For who knows what reason. Uh-oh. Thought I was a goner. So that is an example of what I was talking about when I was saying that there are scary portions of this mansion. These magicians, usually if you're pretty close to them, they'll throw out a melee attack, but sometimes they throw out a fireball. And once you get hit with that fireball, you can get hit with like 5 more of them in like a second or two. So that can be pretty scary, and it can sneak up on you real quick if you don't realize you've gotten hit. Yeah, and you can die. That'll kill you very, very quickly. But at any rate, the gimmick in Devious's mansion is that you have to hit these bells. You have to hit those bells until they make a specific sound. The first one is kind of trolly. So the first one makes a different sound when you hit it the 3rd time, as opposed to nothing, I guess. But yeah, it makes a different sound when you hit it the 3rd time, but you have to hit it 4 times. This is scary. This guy tends to like get right up on you. That's fine. I'm actually just gonna level up in the next room. Uh-oh. Got out of there. I like to take this guy out so that there are no problems. Dude has iframes all the way through that attack. Get another chocolate for safety. Okay, past the scary portions of the dungeon. Now I'm just gonna go straight to the end. The other kind of troll in this dungeon is that you have to jump on certain gears. I'm gonna go to the right this time. Grab my healing item. It's like stuck there for a second. He was like inside my hitbox. Pop that door open, and we're gonna go fight Devious. So, casually, probably a very annoying fight. So, you have to fight Devious. He's a flying enemy. You can only attack him when he touches down on the ground. And you have to fight him on a giant spitting disc. And he also has some attacks that like semi-hone in on you. But yeah, he's not going to get a chance to fire those off. Anyway, for whatever reason, Bogart is in this bird cage. I forget why. But we're not going to let him out of the bird cage. Instead, I'm just going to run off. No, sorry, Bogart. I have more important things to do. Alright, so here's where the meat items come into play. So I am gonna stack quadruple damage onto him. So, Devious being a Magic Holly type, I'm gonna eat one of these. That's gonna double my damage against Magic Holly. And then of course, I'm gonna get the physical damage boost as well. So should be able to get him. I guess for this one coming up, recycle. There we go. Get a 2-cycled him with a death blow. So yeah, that quad damage really helps. The fight is annoying. And then we get the creepiest character that makes his first appearance here. Here in a second. So here comes Gourmand, who I thought was the replacement for Death. But Death is apparently a whole separate entity. Gourmand, however, is really creepy, so that little flame was actually Devious's soul. So this guy just pops in every now and then and like takes someone's soul and then leaves. So now that we've murdered Medusa, we murdered Devious, we're just gonna pretty much eradicate the line, and I'm gonna go fight Shroud at this point. My PB for this game, actually it's pretty funny. I got a 1-second PB earlier. I was ahead by about a minute. So the run wasn't going very well, and then I was ahead by about a minute. And I got some pretty bad luck towards the end, but ended up PBing by 1 second. It is 3:04:40. Yeah, and I really want to push for sub 3 in this game. It's definitely possible with as much time save I have in my splits. I died a few times in my PB. Okay, so now that Medusa and Devious are gone, I actually think Devious controls a curse in this game. So Lester starts playing Granz's song as a lament here. Everyone that's died. They hear it all the way up at the top of Castle Grounds. Now we get Mana Spirit number 6. Luna. So, Luna's ability pretty much allows you to pass through screens safely. It's another thing they added in this game, is enemies having certain senses. So, sight, night, both day and night vision, you know, hearing, and there are a few others as well. Can't think of them off the top of my head. But Luna's defensive ability, like, basically nullifies all that. However, it does turn you into a Moogle. And as a Moogle, you can't run or attack or do any of that fun stuff. So you're pretty much just walking. Alrighty. So now we get Lester as a party member. And actually, I'm not going to do that now. Because I can't. I have to wait till I get into combat, so I have to wait until this next screen. Again, you can't switch off until you get into combat for whatever reason. So I'm gonna set his. I didn't want that. I want this. I'm gonna set his AI to completely passive. Because I don't know if I mentioned this, but enemies can only take damage from one source in this game. And Lester is gonna be significantly weaker than you the whole time he's with you. And some enemies are even immune to bow. So, essentially, you don't want his damage overriding yours. So I just set him to completely passive so he's not going to attack anything. I believe he does have magic, but no mana spirit to actually use it. Alright, scary screen coming up here. Bunch of magicians. Hopefully they open the way. I'm probably dead here. Okay, I got ready on the healing item there. Healing items do give you like a short amount of iframes. A Moogle incentive? Maybe. I don't think Questing for Glory has incentives though. But I wish when you transformed into a Moogle in this game that it actually came along with the Moogle theme. That would have been pretty cool. Alright, Cascade Cave. Pretty much nothing going on here except for punching vines and making my way to the boss. And safely ignore pretty much every enemy in here. What's notable about this boss is that your warp point doesn't change, so you have to save out here. Because if you use an escape rope without saving there, you're going to go all the way back to Jad. So, I'm going to have a two-parter. Julius is going to summon his minion, the Metal Crab, also known as Full Metal Hagar. Phase 1 is super easy. I just gotta punch him a few times and he's dead. He just is gonna keep doing this attack. There we go. Anytime he does that, he goes into iframes. So, this counts as two separate screens. So, I like to cross over here before I actually eat the meat here. So again, I'm getting quad damage off this. And it is possible to stack enough damage on this boss to completely skip his third phase. Oh no, just sleep. Okay, I guess we're going into phase 3. I could have actually killed him there. Alright, I'm actually just going to use this level up. Pretty low on the health here. So yeah, this is total RNG, by the way. Never know if he's going to go forward or go back. You want him to go forward, that way you can get more damage on him. And then you have to keep switching between the bow and the sword. Okay, he should die here. If he didn't put me to sleep, I could have skipped that entire third phase. At any rate, here's our next mana spirit, Striad. not actually going to save there. I'm just going to get the full heal, keep rolling out. So, if I would have come up to this vine wall previously, it would have just basically told me to go find Dryad. Because these vines keep respawning. Every time you cut them, they grow back. So you need the wood mana spirit to stop all that. And she graciously opens the way for us. And then disappears. And then comes back. And then she joins us. Okay, and then a new section coming up. This Final Fantasy Adventure didn't have a Mount Illusia section. Sword of Mana does. The gimmick here is that all these faces have to be the same, and they have to be on a specific expression. Those guys. Jack-o'-lanterns are kind of scary sometimes. Okay. In this case, these guys have to be expressionless. There's a rare enemy here, I believe. Yeah, there he is. King Ox. It's the second rare enemy I've seen this run. Hardest boss in the game? No. Not at all. If you're referring to Shroud. Hey, what's up, Niccolo? Alright, another forced battle scene here. This one isn't too bad. In fact, it's probably the easiest of them all. Oh, I actually got that guy back there. So you can just power hit, or you can just power up and like kill these guys in a couple shots. Stack damage with the bow. Bow is so useful, man. And I get the mace, which I only use once. One angry face here. Match that one we passed a little while back. Hardest boss, I would say, is Julius. Like, appropriately, the final boss. Build up a little death glow there. Ooh, get away from me. Jeez. I'm actually going to take this level up. I'm not going to risk it. These guys will blow up and hit you for almost 70 damage. So the gimmick in this room is you don't really know about that little face that's down there. And then you can hardly see his expression. Now I'm past Mount Illusia and into the castle proper. And you know, something I just realized about this game, Chimera is not a boss. They completely took Chimera out. Okay, so this section isn't too long, and there are two bosses at the end. But before I even go into the gate, I get greeted by Isabella, who for some reason wants to block us. So we start to fight. She's quite a bit stronger. And then Goramon pops out and it's like, yeah, leave him for Shroud. basically. So he convinces her to back off. Then if you caught that, he like turns into a bird and flies away. And now we're trapped in the castle. So no turning back here. And as I mentioned, there's only a couple things you have to do in here. It's not like super complicated. First, you have to go to the left and get a key. If you go to the right, you can get an optional cutscene because Willy is still locked up down here. Okay, this guy is kind of scary sometimes. I'd like to take him out real quick. That magic will get you. Oh, he hit me twice. I'm surprised he didn't. Surprised he didn't give me tiny status. That's very annoying when that happens, because that's a forced fight scene as well. And it really doesn't matter what happens to Lester. He's gonna take a lot of damage, and yeah, he's not particularly useful in combat. Oh god, almost died there. The guy called me as I was going into the door. Alright, so here, another forced battle scene. Get another weapon I won't use. I like to drop an arrow on these guys and then run up and get a double hit. Boom, boom, boom. Rinse and repeat. Drop an arrow. Reason being is because these guys still hit like a tank. Grab the lance, carry on. So the only other thing I have to do here is trigger a cutscene. Don't have to grab any items or anything. Cutscene's just going to be over here. We're going to meet up with Bogard and crew. And then we're going to figure out what to do about Stroud. And look, there's Willy. Somebody let him out. Gonna swap partners here. So Lester's gonna stay behind. And the last thing we have to do is read all these diary entries, or journal entries. All of them are about Garuda, and how he came to have his monstrous form. And you have the last journal. Just have to stick it on the shelf, and that unlocks the door. That's all we gotta do. Yeah, in Children of Mana, those turtles are a pain. This game, not so much. Like, really slow attacks and all that. Grab a gummy frog. For later. I already have a death blow loaded. Here we go. 2 bosses in a row. First one being Garuda. So Garuda has a few different attacks. He can... 1, 2, 3, here he comes. Oh, that is magnificent RNG. It was a 1 cycle. I don't think I've ever gotten a 1 cycle on him. Okay. That's what quad damage will do for you. I do want to cash out my level ups before I get to Shroud. So, that boss fight. Garuda will go left and right out of the screen, and then he will choose a different attack each time. And sometimes he will choose an attack where he just flies around in the background and wastes a bunch of your time, and then drops a bunch of bombs that, for the most part, will miss you. And then it takes him some time to come back on screen. Oh, and Shroud hit me immediately. Jeez. So whenever he hits you, he will stun you. This fight's actually going really well. This is pretty much all you do here. Easy peasy. That was a really good fight except for the stun. So he can stun you, and if you're in range, he's going to throw some little sword wave attacks at you, which essentially keep you from attacking, because it gives you the darkness status, so your accuracy goes way down, so you're not able to hit him. But yeah, that's pretty much all you have to do is get him hung up on one of those pillars. The only real RNG there is what Fuji does. If Fuji dies, then he gets a little bit more aggressive. But if Fuji does happen to make it to the other side of the pillar with you, then the fight gets so much easier. Oh, and there goes Shroud Soul. So, Final Fantasy Adventure, you get blown halfway across the world by Julius. In this game, Isabella and Gormond start fighting, and the energy released from that fight blows you across the world. So now we're getting into the second half of the game. So along with going into the second half of the game, I'm going to start to get really overpowered, actually really quickly. So that's going to trivialize some of the boss fights that aren't trivialized in this game. I don't know. I've had mostly good boss fights this run. But we have a longer cutscene here that is like kind of the intermission. Yeah, that Garuda fight was pretty good. That was really good, actually, and not even pretty good. Stellar. The first time I've ever one-cycled that boss. Okay, so Sumo comes back to his senses, and we have to talk to everyone in this room. Talk to Sella, and then talk to Siba. Yeah, so they took Garuda from the top of Dime Tower, and they put him right there on the top of Castle Grounds in this game. You're keeping track of bosses. But now that we're in the second half of the game, we're actually coming up with a plan on where and how to get the Sword of Mana. So it is currently, according to Siba, in the bottom of a undersea volcano. So we'll have to make our way down there. So yeah, coming up is going to be a side quest. The only side quest I actually do in the game. But it's a very, very important one. So the quest to become overpowered kind of starts there. And the day-night cycle lines up rather nicely to be able to do this quest, like right here and now. So now we swap partners again. Get Lester. I need to head south. Then we get this desert full of laser frogs. So this is the glass desert. You can only walk over certain paths at nighttime. They will reveal themselves, but that'll come into play a little bit later. For now, I need to save right here, set my warp point, and then start to cannon travel. I'll need to travel to Windle. So the item I'm gonna get now is called the Tiny Tapper, which is similar to, I think it's called like the Chibi Hammer or something like that in Trials of Mana. Yo, what's up, Niccolo? Again, I've seen him so many times this run. Anyway, same effect. It shrinks you down and allows you to take some paths that you normally wouldn't be able to. So you also happen to get to Windle at nighttime, which is when the side quest triggers. So this nun gets robbed. And so we have to track down the guy that robbed her. We have to find him 3 times. So, the first time he appears at night, it's right here in this kind of back alley. Disappears. Second time is also going to be at night. And he's going to show up in this little corner of the general store. So the third time, he doesn't appear until dawn. So I actually have to force that to happen. So to do that, I just stay in the inn, which resets the day-night cycle straight to dawn. And then you can catch him hanging out right in the back alley behind the blacksmith. At this point, he just gives up. He gives you what he took and can go in here and give it back to the nun. And in exchange, he gives you the tiny tapper. Okay. So. Actually, just gonna make sure I got it. I'm pretty sure I did. But I was not paying attention and just like mashing there for a second. So, escape rope. Way back here. Go to the next destination, which is Lormar. So, I'm disappointed that they didn't put Flammy in this game. They gave you cannon travel, but they didn't find a way to work in Flammy. Of all the Seiken elements, right? There's not much going on in Lormar. You can build up a death blow if you want. It really just costs you a little bit of time. But really all you want to do is like make your way to the boss here. And there are actually quite a few screens you can shortcut with the jump. Just like that. You pretty much just want to make your way in a northwesterly direction. Okay. Weird. So they added a little subplot to Lormar in this game. I believe this king made a deal with Julius for one thing or another, and then the demon Merilith like popped up and froze everyone. And there are only two people in this town that are not frozen. The king himself and a lady named Mari, who we'll meet in a second. So, Mari just kind of gives him an overview of the situation. And then hands Sumo the key to the castle. Then you can party in here, right? Like, pretty much just free reign of the place. No one's gonna stop him. No one at all. But no time for that right now. Have to head up to the next boss. So, the ice caverns aren't quite as intense in this game. In fact, it's pretty much just an ice field. Pretty much just an ice field you could run through. You do have some slip and slide portions, but they aren't really all that intense. These enemies are also really strong, so you want to avoid them. Go over here, hang a right. Keep heading north. Almost at the boss. Here we are. I do want to take this level up. Take a save here just in case. Sometimes Merilith will get pretty froggy and kill you. Make sure I've got a gummy frog. Definitely want a death blow. And you've got to position yourself just right and time it just right. There we go. That was pretty good. So you get your death blow, you power yourself up, and then you want to let your death blow go as she's coming over towards you. That way you can get that multi-hit through her hitbox. Then after that, it's just clean up. If you don't get enough damage on her, she will launch into a attack that could kill you. So, Merilith has been set free. Her blood turns into a mist that rolls all over Lormar, and then it turns into a really heavy rain, blows through the halls of Lormar Castle, and it thaws everyone out. And now everyone's mad at the king, because they've been frozen for like 20-something years. And everyone also wants the prince to become the king. The prince doesn't want to become the king, though. He wants his father to make amends for what he did. Fix all his mistakes. So that's what plays out there. And Mari is actually the woman he was in love with. But she aged normally, and of course he's frozen, so he didn't. And for that reason, he leaves. The most annoying thing about this section is that you have this cutscene that is outside the castle. But for whatever reason, the devs put you back inside the castle. Also, it would be nice not to backtrack here. But unfortunately you have to, since the warp point changes. Your warp point is now the back of Lormar Castle. Which, in this case, is actually backwards. They didn't put it ahead of you. Sliding around a bit too much there. So yeah, really just making the way back through the snowfields to the cannon. Going to the next destination, which is Float Rocks. Float Rocks isn't too scary, to be honest. It does depend on what kind of enemy spawns you get, though. Like, oh my god, Griffin Hands. Griffin Hands suck, dude. They, scare me so much. Especially a Griffin Hand right here. Don't have to worry about that. I've got, like, one of these electric guys. I'm also going to pick up a, bow upgrade material there. Becomes pretty important here in a second. I'm going to take a slight detour from progressing. Do my second upgrade trip. So I'm just going to upgrade the bow this time. Because I don't use the knuckles for a little while. Yeah, those Griffin Hands, man, they jump around and they're like... They kind of hang out near those posts. And the end of your flail... if it hits an enemy, and then it's not going to hit the post. And they like to get right in front of those things. You can end up just taking a crap ton of damage. Because you can't get across. Gonna take the full heal there. Got a turbo fish right off the bat. The guy's coming for me. Okay, so there are only a couple things I need to do in this cave. So I need to release water in a couple different places. One being here. Takes him a little while to get up. And the second is going to be like right across this gap. to release water here as well. So that drains kind of a lake that's up ahead and allows you to cross. So I'm going to take a slight detour here. Actually going to use the tiny tapper to go into this little cavern and then use it again. Just mash through this menu because it remembers your positions. Over to about here. Walk up and down and wait until I return to normal size. That way I can jump. Go through the super secret wall. And talk to one of the devs. Takes him a while to get up as well. So, you get the only item that you can get from him, which is the brownie ring. I'm going to throw that on right now. So, if you caught that, every stat went up by 55 just now. I'm going to grab this for later. It's the Altina alloy. That's my knuckle upgrade material. So, I drained the water from the upper section here to the lower section. Now I'm gonna go fight the boss. Oh, actually gonna cash out on my level ups here. And I think I'm actually gonna use a gummy frog here. So you can only use magic on a combat screen. And the screen right before Kraken is not a combat screen. So you have to use it before that room. And this guy can waste a lot of your time. Fortunately, I got halfway decent RNG. I had that death blow loaded. Yeah, like saying like the damage gets actually pretty ridiculous, especially at this point in the run. Like just completely trivialize that boss. And this boss coming up, who casually is probably the hardest in the game. So because I have so much defense now, I can pretty much just stroll through all this lava. Yeah, only a couple hits. That's going to be pretty much the theme for the bosses for the rest of the game. Only a couple of hits. You gotta remember, physical damage is being doubled, and then stats are advanced by 55. So yeah, everything you do hurts quite a bit. It's like this. Again, casually, this is one of the hardest bosses in the game. But there he goes. So, Ifrit is actually resistant to every weapon in the game. And he also does a lot of damage. A ridiculous amount of damage. But he doesn't even get the chance to get out of his starting pool. He also has some pretty heavy RNG on him. Alright, so this is where it's revealed that the Geminites never actually unlocked the true power of the Sword of Mana. and that when they were fighting Emperor Vandal, the sword was rusty the entire time. But hey, not bad, right? They somehow still managed to beat him. I think anybody's complaining about that. So, have the sword now. The problem now is that Julius has ascended to the Mana Sanctuary, which we didn't see here. So, gotta go up and stop him. The only way to go stop him is to get through Dime Tower, which in this game is a tower that was built by Siba, just specifically for access to the Mana Sanctuary. But there are a few things that you have to do before you can actually get to Dime Tower. The first of which is really opening the path to it. So, before we go, we're just going to have a big feast because we're coming up on the end of the game. Get another nice montage cutscene here. Really just chomping away at that giant, I don't even know, leg. Then we have the Sumo and Fuji bonding cutscene here. And this one's pretty short. In fact, this one's almost over. You gotta talk to Fuji on the way out, or else they're gonna remind you of that once you hit the door. So, now I'm gonna head north out of Ish. And what I was talking about before, the glass desert with those paths that are only revealed at night, they're gonna come into play now. Griffin Lake. Probably. It's like huge, man. Needs like all his upper body strength to hold that thing. Okay, so here's the path to Dime Tower. Unfortunately, it's locked. Then out stepped Goramon from nowhere. And he's telling us all about how to get the key. And the key is in this sealed cave on this deserted island. So that's the next destination. So he teleports out this time. I don't think he actually turns into a bird in this cutscene. Yeah, just straight teleports. Also of note, in PB attempts, this is the last place where I save, which is just about 30 minutes or so. Actually, it's over 30 minutes back. So a death is like absolutely devastating. But there's nothing really all that scary between here and Julius. I like to backtrack through the desert and take this path here, because you can skip one of the night bridges. It's by running along this ridge. About... Now I'm gonna head south. In all of the glass desert. So I'm gonna cannon travel one last time. And of course, we're gonna go off to the sealed cave. This section actually has some pretty cool tech. So there are 5 switches that I have to hit in here. 2 of them I'm gonna try to hit off screen with knuckle magic. The first 2 you can actually hit with the bow. Look at that hitbox. Ridiculous. Let's see. Two. Switch off to the bow here, or knuckles rather. Ah, dang it. Just barely missed it. There it is. So that only saves time if you get it the first time around. The next one actually saves time even if you miss it. So you want to go to the bottom of this like 2-part room up here. And that's switch number 4. And I want to plant... Oh man, that was way early. I think I have a fairy walnut. I have 2. That was too late. Oh, jeez. I practiced this right before the stream. That ought to be it. There we go. I've still got some magic left over. Yeah, there is an uncanny resemblance to Gilligan's Island here. Like, notably all the zombies. Hey, Niccolo, what's up, buddy? Shoot, Niccolo, why did you appear on this screen, dude? Like, what is wrong with you? So, I usually power up on this screen. But I can't power up if I'm not in combat. If Niccolo's on the screen, then you're not going to be in combat. And I'm not quite sure why I backtracked there instead of just going forward. It's not super important to be power up when I come in here. I can just power up right at the beginning. So, Death just has this like very annoying scythe that continuously hits you for 1 damage and interrupts everything you do. All you really have to do is position yourself behind him, hit him with those arrows. Takes him out rather quickly. Hey, here's our last mana spirit. So, now we have all of them, and that's the key. So, just gonna escape rope right back to Ruined Path. And to open the door here, the light and the dark mana spirit have to work together. So they do their thing, they pray to the mana goddess, and then the door opens for us. Just like that. Alright, here we go. Quick equipment change on the way in here. As soon as I go into combat. So I'm gonna need the flail. Also gonna need the dark mana spirit. There's a totem I gotta knock down up ahead. And this is actually a pretty short section. Only thing scary is that you can get hit by some of the enemies. They're like super strong in here. Niccolo, what's up, man? This is actually a screen he can appear on to save time. I don't think I've ever seen Niccolo appear so many times in one run. So yeah, normally there's a dark totem there. But of course Niccolo despawns all the enemies in the area. So I can just walk right through. So I flip this switch right here, raises a portion of the room. Avoid those guys. The gimmick is that you probably won't catch that door spawned. Flip this switch here, it raises the room even higher. So I'm gonna take an exit out this way now. Swing across. Oh. There's an example of what I was talking about earlier. This guy is just gonna hang out in front of the totem, or the post. That's it. End of Ruined Path. So now we're going up to Dime Tower. Yes, that was Niccolo. Niccolo appears randomly in this game. Yeah, so as far as I know, there's no way to actually manipulate where and when he spawns. If there is, then that makes this run a little more stable. So you don't have to rely on randomness like that. So, Dime Tower. My favorite reformatted section of this game has got to be this one. Like, the atmosphere just feels so right here. Like, in Final Fantasy Adventure and Adventures of Mana, Dime Tower is just kind of like this ancient, worn-down thing. On this game, it's like full of machines and machinery. And I just feel like this song is just so fitting for this particular section. run into Marcy here. So, in the English release of this game, this character's name is actually Marshall, and not Marcy like the original. But in the Japanese version, the name stays the same. And I'm not sure what the reasoning for that is. And of course, Marcy does what Marcy does and translates all these tablets. But I don't think Sumo likes to read or whatever, so he like destroys the tablet. And this tower is actually really misleading. So if you read the descriptions on the puzzles, it talks about... Oh god, this is scary. It talks about different spirits and whatnot. So when I first came through here in my casual playthrough, I was thinking that you had to hit these nodes with different mana spirits, which would have been actually really cool. But you don't have to. You can just keep hitting them with your flail. Which is really convenient for the speedrun, but kind of lame from a lore standpoint. So first descent into the air. Have a series of like really awkward jumps here. Like, you have to be kind of jumping diagonally for, like, most of these. I just cannot get up there right now. Sumo, please. There we go. What makes it worse is the lag there. When those things explode. And hey, here's the only time I use the mace in the run. Boom. Immediately switch back to flail. Hey, what's up, RP Priya? Thanks for that luck. Definitely gonna need it for what's ahead here. Oh god. Am I dead? Whew. Scary. Marcy might die. Are you serious? Those swords are just hanging out in the way. Okay, so 3 hits apiece here. 3, 1, 2, 3. Continue on. Dude, the magicians are just out in force right now. Pretty crazy. I've never seen so many magicians in this place. Mercy has more life, so I'm gonna take her over. Okay. Now I'm gonna do a little equipment change. Actually, not here. I am actually gonna level up here so I don't die. Gonna come back for that gummy frog there. 1, 2, 3. Grab this thing. Alright, here's where I need to do an equipment change. So I need to equip the knuckles. Also need to equip the fire spirit. Kind of gather these guys together right here. Thanks for that, Sumo. Okay, so the quick strategy is already gone, unfortunately. Still group some of these guys. So these magicians are only harmed by magic. Marcy's bolts just happen to be magic. And maybe I ought to change, like, in the previous room. So I think changing there actually changes these guys' movement pattern. Because normally you can just group them up there at the top and then shoot them all down at the same time. Okay, final room. Right back to the center. I'm gonna attempt a quick kill here, but the quick kill for this boss is actually kind of dependent on RNG. So I'm gonna eat a gummy frog here to get my full death blow. And I'm also gonna eat that other phantom meat that I have in my inventory. So if you were wondering where Golem was in this run, here he is. Oh, I didn't get the quick kill pattern. Oof. Good stuff. Still got him in one cycle though. So the quick kill pattern is when he does that, but it's like immediate. Just does that without moving. That way you can just let the Hadouken go right away, and there you are. Alright, so moving into the final section of the game. Right after this cutscene. Yeah, I love the whole aesthetic in Dime Tower. Or actually referring to the Mana Temple. That's pretty good too. Dime Tower is my favorite aesthetic in the whole game, though. So this cutscene plays out pretty much the same way it does in FFA. Marcy says she's got some thrusters. She's gonna toss you across and then join you in a second. But that turns out to be completely untrue. So she goes down with the tower. And if you notice in the background, you're not actually falling, you're like ascending this entire time. And no time to cry, gotta go stop Julius. Okay. So, I could realistically come in under 3 hours, but that will depend on what kind of pattern Julius wants to give me. Alright, so first things first, in entering the Mana Temple, I want to do my last upgrade. So I'm going to take that Altina Iron that I got from earlier, and I'm going to upgrade my Knuckles. Also, I'm going to stockpile level ups from now on. It's pretty much my only source of healing. Quick pit stop here. Pretty expensive upgrade. But you pretty much pile up cash from when float rocks on, so you never really have to worry about it. Alright, so the first part of the Mana Temple is kind of like a Legend of Zelda Lost Woods type situation. If you go the wrong way, you end up at the beginning. Unfortunately, the way to go isn't too hard. So you go up, you go to the right, you go down. I'm actually going to grab this gummy frog up here. Usually don't do that, but just in case. Okay, you go to the right again. Pine cones are scaring me. Then you just go up. And now you're released from the Lost Woods section. Now it just becomes a regular confusing dungeon. So you more or less just want to head in a westerly direction. Head north a couple times and then head straight over this way. Just going up this way. Oh, and everyone's asleep. Good, good, good. And now I'm coming up on the Temple Guardian, who might look kind of familiar to Legend of Mana players out there. He isn't quite as hard in this game. And I like to power up right in the beginning because he can cast Stop on you and like override your buff. Like that. Yeah, you pretty much just punch him in the face and move on. So, this section is kind of confusing because of how they put those walls in. It doesn't look like you can actually walk through them, but you can. Which, for the most part, it doesn't really mess you up. But it did used to mess me up down here, and I used to get lost in here really bad. On this particular wall. Right. Almost at the end, guys. Just a few more screens, and then you fight the final boss. So, because this is a marathon run, and if I die, I don't want to be 30 minutes back, I will actually take the time to save here. I'll go back to this room and actually heal up and all that stuff. So I do want to power up. I do want to eat a gummy frog because I'm gonna have to use a death blow as soon as the fight with Julia starts. But there are some rather lengthy cutscenes in between now and the... So So Julia summons pretty much every significant character you know in a corrupted form to try to corrupt Sumo himself. This is actually pretty reminiscent of the Revenant cutscene from Children of Mana. I think that scene may have been inspired by this one. So yeah, pretty much just a few minutes of mashing. So he makes the Revenants get all riled up and violent. They get ready to attack Sumo. But then he throws down his sword, says, you know what, I'm not going to attack you guys. Doesn't want to attack his friends, even if they are evil, violent Revenants. So, by doing that, that actually breaks the curse on Fuji. And then they summon kind of like a mana spirit bomb here. Several characters. Including Isabella for whatever reason. Then that mana spirit bomb breaks the curse on everyone else. And look, there's Siba. So, plan B. If you guys aren't going to be cursed and you guys are all going to turn on me, well, I guess it's goodbye then, right? Just gonna knock them all dead. But look, there's a guy you thought that was dead the entire run. Lord Grands. He's been hiding out in the Mana Sanctuary this entire time. Now all three of the Geminites are back together. So yeah, Grands pops out. And Julius gets really jealous and he says, hey, pay attention to me, guys. And he just knocks everyone out. So Grands damages him and uses some of the last bits of his energy to teleport Sumo and Fuji out. And then you have, like, kind of this unintentionally hilarious scene. So you have the two Geminites that are left doing battle with Julius. And then Willy. Just Willy here. Just regular dude Willy. Let's just try to take on the most powerful dude on the planet. I actually have to run up here because that timer is ticking on that power up. And now, the final lengthy cutscene of the game before I can get to the final boss fight. Now, Julius's presence is actively withering the mana tree. And then he reveals his entire plot. And his motivations and all that. So he wanted to be stronger than the mana goddess. He wants the mana goddess to bow before him. So, essentially, he just wants to become a god. Almost there, guys. A little bit more. So, Sumo finally unlocks the true power of the Sword of Mana. Activate! And here we go. So, I need to throw out a death blow almost immediately. I need to get rid of all those King Ox. Didn't actually know I was hitting him. Okay, that's phase 1. Here's phase 2. Ah, I got silenced. And I'm a snowman. This is going well. Okay, that's what I want right there. There we go. Got him with the Shuriken. So, this is probably not going to be sub 3, unfortunately. Pretty dang close, though. I would need to get the most magnificent RNG I could possibly get on phase 3 here. See what he gives me. Immediately moves, huh? Oh my god, he actually gave me a pretty good pattern. Is the dream alive? The dream isn't alive. No. Okay, I need to level up. So that sucks. Ah, man. Dang it. So yeah, that's time, by the way. Sorry about that. That is actually a massive PB, though. Just 14 seconds off from that sub 3. So that fight can be pretty scary. So he has two modes there. He has the red mode and the blue mode. Red mode, he takes physical damage. Blue mode, he takes magical damage. Anytime he goes blue, it's bad. Would Ripley? I think he's always been old. But yeah, so you want him to stay. You want Julius 3 to stay in red mode. So when he passes the center point in that room, he can choose to either keep going and float out of the other side of the room, or he can change modes. And if he does that green spear, that's the perfect time to hit him with a death blow, because he can take easily 800, 900 plus damage, and he only has like 1500 health. So you can erase his health bar rather quickly there. Unfortunately, I missed my chance for that. I did get a kind of nice rebound fight, but it was just a bit too slow. But yeah, guys, that's Sword of Mana. So, nice, fun little speedrun.
GG, Smelly. That was awesome. Thank you. Hey, Smelly. GG. Thank you.
All right. So, do you want to let the ending play out, or is it?
Oh yeah, totally.
Here? Okay.
Yeah, dude. Congrats. That was really awesome. That was a PB, right?
Yeah, that was almost a 4.5-minute PB.
Oh my
actually.
god, dude. Nice.
Yeah.
That was excellent. Thank you so much. SmellyMctroll, everybody. And that's the finale for ellervatedthon, but we're just going to let this play out, right? It's so cool looking. We'll show some extra story and...
Yeah, we're about at the credits now.
Oh, gotcha.
So a cool thing about the ending in Final Fantasy Adventure and Adventures of Mana, it actually doesn't to the sword afterwards.
I think I missed part of that.
Oh, it's right here. So then, like, Fuji actually ascends to become the mana tree and restores it, and Sumo just plants a sword right there at the base of the tree. So there's like a little special thing. Probably don't want to wait for it. It's actually 5 minutes after the credits. If you let the end screen hang for 5 minutes, there's a chocobo that comes out afterwards.
Oh, that's actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
So
I didn't
Moogles and
realize that.
chocobos in this.
Yeah.
Nice.
This is the first time I beat this game casually. I just kind of let the end screen hang up on there. I wasn't expecting anything. I was just, rooting around doing other stuff, and then that kind of just popped up as a little Easter egg.
I mean, honestly, it would be really cool if you were down to let it happen, and it would fill out the rest of the thon because we were gonna go for 36.
Sure.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'm sure chat
much
will enjoy
volunteers.
that too.
Yeah. Let it hang after the
We'll
credits.
just let it hang. Cool, man.
Yeah, I don't know if you want to like say anything to like fill in the time.
Well, I should say, honestly, thank everybody so much because it's just been so incredible. Had so much fun, and I couldn't have done it without all the great runners and commentary and support. Man, just had a lot of fun. I don't know. Maybe we'll do it again next year. I was thinking like next year maybe we should introduce some randomizers or randos or what was I thinking about? Oh, bingo or randomizer or something would be interesting. But yeah, good times. Thank you, Wampa, for sure. It was good.
Just want to throw out that this
I think I missed some of that, Smelly. I apologize. think I
So yeah,
missed.
just
I think I missed some of that, Smelly. I apologize. The part where you said something you wanted to point out.
oh that the so
I
yeah,
think I
the
missed.
ending screen is pretty
I
highly
think I missed some
reminiscent
of that, Smelly. I
to the past.
apologize. The part where you said something you wanted to point out.
Oh, that the ending screen is pretty highly reminiscent of Link to the Past. So yeah, pretty much just hang out here for another couple of minutes, and that chocobo will pop up at some point. So yeah, pretty much just hang out here for another couple of minutes, and that chocobo will pop up at some point.
Theme. Just like in End of Legend of Mana. I love that. Cannot wait for this chocobo. I'm poised. I'm ready.
Yeah, it's definitely a nice Easter egg they threw.
Dude, what if it popped out right at 36 on the nose? No, I'm playing.
That'd be pretty awesome. So I am disappointed that there's no flamming.
No what?
No flamming
Oh,
in this
no
game.
Flammy. Yeah, that is disappointing. Man, I totally forgot about that. At least in Legend of Mana, you got Vadis, which is a big fluffy dragon.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah.
Oh wait, yeah, I did actually.
You've seen
Yeah,
her.
he's like
She's real
somewhere in this.
tall and
Yeah,
like
yeah, I know what you're talking about now.
she resembles Flammy. $36. We made it. Yahoo! It's actually been we've actually been live for 37 because I don't know why. I think I put the title card up for an hour while things were getting going.
Here it is.
Oh, cool. Oh, nice. Dude, I love it.
Just waves goodbye.
Is he gonna say quack or is he gonna say work? He's just gonna wave. That was awesome. That was totally worth it.
Alrighty, I've actually got to get out of here to dinner.
Okay, sounds good, Smelly. Thank you so much, and for the extra bit of time there to see the chocobo. Man, that was really cool.
Yeah, no worries.
All right, take care, Smelly. Have a good night or day.
Yep, you too.
All right, take care. Bye.
Later.
That's it, folks. Everybody has a great evening.